This is Residence 104.4 FM. Flipping marvellous. How are you doing? My name's Nick Hennegan, and we're here once more for a slice of literary London. Oh, yes. And I'm kind of very aware of literary London at the moment because guess what, kids? I'm going to. It ain't Toto. I'm going to America. Yes, I've been asked to do the London Literary Pub Crawl in America. More precisely, Kansas City. Yes, hee-ha. It came about, shall I tell you what? Yes, it came about because years ago, when I first came to London to go to university, I didn't go to university till I was 50. Yeah. I left school without any qualifications at 15. You know what it's like, Birmingham Council Estate. Anyway, so a mate of mine, Andy, all right, Andy Bloom from King's Standing, he said, if you want a cheap pint, he said, go, he said, to the Fitzroy Tavern on Charlotte Street in Fitzrovia, just behind the Wheatchief pub. And so I did, and in those days, they had a bar downstairs called the Writers and Artists Bar. It's now the toilets, by the way. Yeah, it might be more appropriate. But I bought my cheap pint and I sat downstairs and I was looking around at all the pictures and photographs on the wall of some of the famous writers. I mean, some of the most famous writers in the world pictured in there drinking and talking and jugging and jarring, as they occasionally say in America. And it made me think there must be some stories to tell. So I did a bit of research online. I mean, I went to the British Library, and in 2012 I came up with a thing called the London Literary Pub Crawl, which I thought would be a good thing, a jolly good thing to do for the London 2012 Olympics. Being a writer, of course, I missed my deadline. And they wouldn't put the Olympics back for me. But we did it anyway. And that was in 2012. And now, every Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock, the London Literary Pub Crawl rides again. I'm doing them myself at the moment. I don't always. There's a bunch of us, collective, I suppose you could call it, of writers. And we kind of share the love. I mean, I use that term slightly glibly, but it sort of is true. We're not a travel company. We're writers, and we're kind of sharing the love. And then last year at the Edinburgh Fringe, there was a play I was going to adapt from a lovely writer. I'd adapted his 2 previous plays. This one I had some troubles with. And so because everything was set up for Edinburgh, we were a bit stuck. So at the last minute, I thought, okay, we'll do the first Edinburgh, brackets, not London, close brackets, literary pub crawl, which is what happened. I have to say, again, if you're a writer, you'll get this. I turned up there and I was doing it myself because I was actually still writing it. I mean, the Edinburgh Festival takes all of August. It's the biggest open arts festival in the world. I shall be there again this year. With the Edinburgh, not London, literary pub crawl. But while we were up there, someone from Kansas, nice guy called Bob, said, "Hey, this is great. You should bring it to bring it. Can you do something for America?" So we're going to do the Kansas literary pub crawl. Except it's not really going to be. It's going to be an element of the United Kingdom. And I'm going to film it. We're going to do audio visual. But I just thought I'd share that with you. So if you're anywhere near Kansas, Kansas City, I've been told, there's a difference. Kansas City in Missouri, I think it is. MO is Missouri, isn't it? So, yes, I'm going over there for a week or so, doing a few shows, working with local actors as well, doing some of the readings. And the show is more about the lives of these famous writers. And we're going to be talking, by the way, I should say, about famous writers. We've got some great birthdays we're going to celebrate this week. But if you are in Kansas City, or if you're going to be at the Edinburgh Fringe in August, then do please let me know. I might come around and have a chat with you. Bring me electric handbag, as I call it, my microphone. We might even have a chat about what you're doing if you're performing up there. As always, you can get in touch with me, radio@mavericktheatre.co.uk. Although I've now got a new email address, which is probably easier because I tend to get a bit overwhelmed on that other one. It's now Nick at bohemianbritain.com. Nick at bohemianbritain.com. So if you're doing anything in Edinburgh, or of course don't forget if you've got any sort of event on that you think might be of interest, although we're called Literary London, we are literally listened to around the world. Oh, hello, Kath from California. Hey, Kath. Kath from California has been listening for years. When I used to do a live hour on a Friday night, Kath would occasionally phone in. She was always listening by the sea, and it was always sunny, apparently. Yeah, it was a few years ago. But anyway, she said, "Hi, Kath, how you doing?" So if there is anything happening that you would like to share, then please do let me know. Or if there's something you've written you want to talk about, then again, Nick at Bohemian Britain, one word, .com is probably the easiest way. And of course, have a listen or a look at bohemianbritain.com. It's my kind of messy little blog. All sorts of stuff going on there. Yes, messy is the right word. I'm probably going to do, we're going to be talking about things like Substack and Medium and various other outlets for writers over the next few weeks. So stay tuned, as they say, if you're interested in that. But I'm probably going to be doing a bit of a daily blog from the Edinburgh Fringe anyway. So if there's anything you'd like me to explore or any questions you've got, again, nick@bohemianbritain.com. nick@bohemianbritain.com. But we are celebrating some fantastic birthdays as well this time. Not least of which, of course, is George Orwell, talking of literary London. He features quite heavily. And we're going to be playing a little bit of one of his classic stories. But also, happy birthday, born the 21st of June 1948, the British novelist Ian McEwan. Who it's difficult to sort of define him by a single genre, really. He published his debut novel called The Cement Garden in 1978. He'd also went in the nickname Ian Macabre. He experimented with his genre, and I quite like him for that. He also wrote the story Rose Blanche in 1985 for children. It's a children's story. Black Dogs was published in 1992, which delved into mystery fiction. And then Machines Like Me, a book called Machines Like Me, explored artificial intelligence. So I thought I'd pass on one or two writing observations, if you are a writer, from Ian McEwan. So here's his first one. 1. Procrastination happens to everyone. It's a quote from a New Yorker interview where Ian was saying, I'm quite good at not writing. So even Ian McEwan admits he can put off the task of writing, although he has, as I mentioned, managed to write novels, novellas and plays and more in his career. And I'm really pleased to hear that, because I've got a couple of novels I think I'm going to knock out soon. Oh, yes. I don't have an agent anymore. Oh, so if you're a literary agent, then please do get in touch with me. I did have an agent, actually, bless her, Elspeth Cochrane. Sadly, she passed away. She was 94 and had only just stopped working. Her 90th birthday at RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, was a hoot, let me tell you. Anyway, Ian McEwan, yes. So procrastination happens, he says. It happens to everyone, but it should never get in the way of good writing. He says you just got to write through it. If you're a habitual procrastinator, set goals. Specific page, a specific time, or a word count that can force a solid writing routine. His second hint is to control your story's narrative. He says novelists have to be adept at controlling the flow of information, and most crucially, they have to be in charge of the narrative. Authors can have the unique power to do whatever they want to their characters or plot, and that's powerful. It's a task to be approached with responsibility. I like this one. This is his third hint. Write to lose yourself in it. He's quoted as saying, perhaps the greatest reading pleasure has an element of self-annihilation, to be so engrossed that you barely know you exist. Great, captivating writing is always engrossing, he says. His fourth hint, all stories require sleuthing from the writer. His quote is, you could say that all novels are spy novels and all novelists are spy masters. He means that stories require detective work. Writing fiction, he says, requires effort from the writer. And the writer should dig and uncover and excavate. It's what gives the story a plot. His final one, 5, learn from your critics. Reading reviews makes you thin-skinned. It's like washing layers off your skin, he said. Reviews and rejections can be harsh. All writers have to deal with rejection letters and critics, including McEwan. He avoids reading his reviews. He says he learns from feedback but never let it sting. Other writers, including Stephen King, have given similar advice to new authors. And I must confess, they say professionals don't get stuck on their rejections. Instead, they edit, resubmit, or pitch again. And I do know that I often say to actors in shows that we've produced, I've just finished doing a play I wrote a few years ago called Ghost of a Chance. And if you go to bohemianbritain.com, it was a sort of a domestic horror story with two lovely actors, Juliet and Greg. I kind of still miss them, actually, and the show finished about 2 months ago. It's like that, isn't it? I don't know if you're involved in theatre. You're so intense, and the three of us were together for about 6 weeks. And then it's like, I think actually Greg sent me a message at the end. I sent him a little message saying thanks very much. And Greg was saying, a very experienced actor. He's been in Coronation Street. Oh, well. He said, yep, I'm in mourning now. And I kind of know, I know how he feels. So yeah, those are a few little hints from Sir Ian McEwan. But not only that, not only Ian McEwan. Oh, we've got some huge birthdays, not least of which from the writer of Animal Farm.
Okay, yes. We are bored. We're all bored now. But has it ever occurred to you, Wally, that the process that creates this boredom that we see in the world now may very well be a self-perpetuating, unconscious form of brainwashing created by a world totalitarian government based on money? And that all of this is much more dangerous than one thinks? And it's not just a question of individual survival, Wally, but that somebody who's bored is asleep, and somebody who's asleep will not say no? See, I keep meeting these people. I mean, just a few days ago, I met this man that I greatly admire. He's a Swedish physicist, Gustav Bjornstrand, and he told me that he no longer watches television, he doesn't read newspapers, and he doesn't read magazines. He's completely cut them out of his life because he really does feel that we're living in some kind of Orwellian nightmare now, and that everything that you hear now contributes to turning you into a robot.
push loop. Yeah, that's kind of weird, ain't it? And it's, of course, called George Orwell. And we are celebrating the fact that George Orwell was born on the 25th of June, 1903. Didn't make old bones. He passed away 21st of January, 1950. But, of course, the acclaimed English writer who wrote novels, dystopian novels, 1984, and his allegorical novella Animal Farm, which was presented quite recently by a friend of mine, Guy Masterson, who's a rather brilliant actor. He's so brilliant, in fact, I directed him in my version of A Christmas Carol, which is, I think, is also going out again this Christmas. If you want to know more, then yes, get in touch. Nick at bohemianbritain.com. Nick at bohemianbritain.com. But it's interesting, together these books, 1984 and Animal Farm, have sold more copies than any two books by any other 20th century author. Excuse me. And of course, with what's happening politically around the world, possibly very relevant now. Although he's got his 5 rules for writing as well, which we'll go through here. His 5 rules are: what am I trying to say? Number 2, what words will express it? 3, what image or idiom will make it clearer? And 4, is this image fresh enough to have an effect? His rules of writing, taken from his essay Politics in the English Language, include: never use a metaphor, a simile or other figure of speech which you're used to seeing in print. Number 2, never use a long word where a short one will do. Yes, it's not a bit Hemingway-esque as well, isn't it? I think, anyway, I'll get to that later. 3, if it's possible to cut a word out, always cut it out. 4, never use a passive where you can use an active, or the active, sorry. Never use the passive when you can use the active. And 5, never use a foreign phrase, a scientific word or a jargon word if you can think of an everyday English equivalent. Which is rather clever, isn't it? George Orwell, yes. So we were celebrating his birthday. As I say, 25th of June, 1903, he was born. Passed away rather sadly on the 21st of January, 1950. But his memory lives on, of course, as does his work and his writing. I'm Nick Hennegan. This is Resonance 104.4 FM. It's Literary London. Also, of course, on bohemianbritain.com. That's me kind of little messy, little messy website. My web place. Go and have a look. Sign up. To all this. I ought to know more about this technology lark, really, shouldn't I? But yes, bohemianbritain.com. And I mention that because I had an email in the week, which is rather sweet. It's from John. His name's John Green, and he lives in Billesley in Birmingham. And I know Billesley very well because that's where I was born and brought up. And I started doing pub theatre at the Billesley pub, which was on the estate where I was born, back in 1994, I think it was. And John said, I remember hearing years ago you playing a song that you'd put together yourself. And I think it was called On the Bus to Birmingham. And so I don't know where to get it from, but I'd really like to hear it again, if you don't mind. Keep up the good work. Cheers, John. John, I think you might be talking about this, and this is actually a little thing I kind of made on my iPad, as you do when you've got a quiet night. It was actually called Maypole to Birmingham, and Maypole is Maypole is kind of a major road from Worcestershire almost, and it goes into Birmingham, and it passes all sorts of entertainment venues, and there are clubs and mosques and discos and pubs, and it's a glorious ride. I'm a number 50 bus. If you're a Brummie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Almost the equivalent. Not quite as frequent, but perhaps more reliable. Almost the equivalent of the London Underground is the number 50 bus. And so, yes, it's very kind of you to say. In fact, it just so happens, yes, I don't know where it is available because it's just sort of on my computer, really. I didn't do anything with it. I suppose I could try and put it on my Bohemian Britain website. Yeah, well, I might try that. But anyway, cheers, John. This is Maypole to Birmingham, subtitled A Party Landscape. Boom! So, yes, that was Maypole to Birmingham, A Party Landscape by me. Yes. I did it. I made it on iPad a few years ago. And thank you, John, for remembering it. I must have played it on here at some point. Fill a bit of time. You know what it's like. Yes, I don't know where it is available or even if you want it. John did say, he said he'd like to play at a nightclub. Well, maybe I should try and do something about that. There must be ways of digitally releasing music. I thought I should know, really. I mean, I spent 20 odd years working on radio stations, but they were in the days of, record players, love, eh? Yeah, turntables, vinyl, things like that, yeah. I mean, I have to say the last radio station I worked on, it was just a case of pressing the button, and it was pretty boring. But them's the breaks. And we're almost run out of time, although I did have a quick email as well here from Debbie, who is in Chelsea. And Debbie said, would you play this for my boyfriend? Ah, that's lovely, isn't it? Debbie from Chelsea. It is the violin romance, of course, from the film As You Like It. The music's by Patrick Doyle. Clever lad. And Debbie, that was for you. You didn't mention who your boyfriend was, but maybe write in next time. Okay. And that's all we have got time for. Thanks for your company. I'm Nick Hennegan. We're on Resonance. Literary London on Resonance 104.4 FM.